Hi everyone, welcome to the Money Store. This is the channel where we talk about La Luz del Mundo and its unraveling. And this is a channel that's been current and ongoing for the past almost 3 years, basically 3 years at this point. And as the title of today's video will say, I'll be running through some online articles that I ran into that pertain to La Luz del Mundo, and they come at different points in the past handful of, let's say, 6 years, starting from 6 years ago and then up until the present day. There's a bit of a selection process to these things, but these are a number of things that, as I read them, I very much wanted to save them and read through them again with everybody on here and give some comments on what I thought about them. But of course, before we go on, this is a small channel. Be sure to like, be sure to comment. All of that helps. Be sure to leave a comment, as that is a part of the conversation after the conversation. And be sure to shoot me an email in regards to anything you have here, and I will be soliciting emails in a bit in regards to an ongoing project. But what else can I say? I do intend to post more frequently on this channel. And before we get into the topic of today's video, I do want to highlight a couple of things right here before I move on to the main topic. Number one, I would say I'm going to share my screen right now. This is, maybe you can see me on screen as well, but what I'm sharing right now is a very zoomed out picture of my book on La Luz del Mundo as it currently stands right now. I started this back in late December of last year. And then I had to put it down for a while because I was writing a history dissertation. I was finishing writing a history dissertation, which I defended, and I have now graduated as a history PhD. I did this work that I'm working on is, of course, very much also based in history. The history that I wrote for my dissertation takes place, a century well before this, but still, I want to give this zoomed out picture here to everybody to sort of be, sort of a shot across the bow, if that's what it can be, to the defenders of La Luz del Mundo. I'm not saying that my book is going to be the end all be all of the entire situation, but to some extent, to a great extent, I think it has to be someone's responsibility to condense, to tell the story, the variety of stories, to tell the history, and to bring in as many voices and give an account of the history of La Luz del Mundo and the people that have been a part of it, the people who have born into it, people who have left it, its debacles, and as I've said in the previous video, this is a story that is still unfolding. This is a story that continues to unfold, and who knows where it will be in a year from now. Hopefully a year from now I would have written way much more than what I have here, but this is a story that's still unraveling. As you all recall, back in October 2023, the federal government announced that they were going to that they were going to apply charges on Nathan Joaquin Garcia, on charges that were left over from the state's case that he was convicted for, that he sent a plea, that he submitted a guilty plea for back in the summer of 2022. And so I want to give this picture here of the work that I have here. Of course, I'm not going to zoom into everything I've written here. I think the content here stems from the early 1900s and then all the way to basically the present day. As I write more, the space between page one, the content between page one and the last page here is going to spread drastically. And so what I have here is in single space right now. That's how I type. When I plan to submit this to whoever it is, it will be double spaced. And I guess my goal is to reach like over 100,000 words, maybe reach 500 pages. I will have a bibliography. I will have notes. I will have timeline, I guess a cast of characters, et cetera, et cetera. But basically here, what I want to show is that I've thus written 15,000 words, and this is like well over a chapter's worth of content for this book that I'm working on. I don't know how many chapters I will do. That is something that will go on that's something I'll find out as time goes on. And I don't have any titles or anything like that, but right now I am just gathering a lot of citations and gathering a lot of resources to have this project here. So yeah, I wanted to share this. Let me know if you think, if you have any obscure PDFs, resources, books, rare magazines, rare ephemera, rare himnarios, magazines, just anything, any sort of sources, recordings, VHS recording, anything like that. Just, if you feel that you have something that you want to put on my radar, please send me an email. It's in the description. Put it on my radar. Let's talk. I want to get as many sources as I possibly can into this thing. And I want to, have this be some sort of some sort of collaborative project that, I am masterminding and putting together, but that I can put out for, everybody else. Let me know what you think. I am not yet ready to talk to share this with anybody, but this is certainly more than a chapter's worth. And I guess over time, later on, I will be more willing to share certain things with people. And yeah, let me know what you think about this. This is a sort of follow-up to the previous video that I had posted. I'm going to stop the share. The next share I want to do, and again, we haven't gone to the topic of this video so far, but the next share I want to do is this. This is the Journal of CESNUR, the Center for Study of New Religions. Well, what is it exactly? Center for Studies on New Religions, CESNUR, CESNUR. This is the Journal of CESNUR, Volume 4, Issue 2. This is from March and April 2020. And so this is from right before, the pandemic hit. People, the people here have been writing this and putting this together since prior to the spread of the pandemic and the lockdowns that went on. But I think this is important because it is, this, and that this, ties into the topic of today's videos. There's a lot of content out there, a formidable amount of content out there that purports to be academic work on religions, on La Luz del Mundo particularly, and yet it's sort of meant to launder a legitimization of the church in the eyes of the public. If you're a member of La Luz del Mundo, you may know to some extent, and I know now that I knew growing up that there was supposedly some sort of academic attention on La Luz del Mundo, that people from the outside world that are studied and learned and all these other and accomplished, all these other things, that there's some sort of parties of people out there that are so interested in the church that they come in to view the church and to provide reports on it and to discuss its growth and to give an account or some sort of legitimization to the church. And without getting too ahead of myself, I think this Journal of CESNUR is very interesting. I've already read it. I read it a week or two ago already. This thing is almost 80 pages. And basically, this is just a bullshit academic journal that I guess is based in it is based in Turin, Italy. But yeah, this is just some sort of bullshit academic journal that definitely that talks about La Luz del Mundo and different components. There are a number of authors here. There are 6 components here. Let me know if in the future if in the very near future you would like me to do a video on this. I think I just might, because I've read this thing and I think it's very interesting for a number of reasons. Number one, and this ties into the topic of today's video, the person who provides the first article here, who provides a short history of La Luz del Mundo, is a person by the name of Massimo Introvigne. Massimo is an Italian sociologist, not a member of the church. This is a guy who is some sort of academic that apparently helps to run or is affiliated with this website and this outlet CESNUR. And as you can see here, he has a La Luz del Mundo short history that I've already read. That person, Massimo Introvigne here is not a person who is a part of the church at all. And I do wonder at what exact point he becomes involved in the church. I know it goes back to the 90s. We'll see. And then it is also more recent, but yeah, let's move on. The second component that's here is the rise of La Luz del Mundo in Texas. I don't know why this would be the second journal article, because La Luz del Mundo is based in Mexico, and you would think that. And then just for some reason, it just kind of seems a little jarring or like unsquared to have this second article be the one that follows the short history of La Luz del Mundo, because it's not just that. I don't know. I'd see that. I definitely see Texas as a major site of La Luz del Mundo's expansion in the United States, but I don't necessarily see it as like the best thing to follow up here in this journal article. But okay, let's move on. The third component here. This is a member of La Luz del Mundo, Sara Pozos. We'll get to her in a bit, or maybe just in the next video. But this is just a complete shill for the church, just a complete glazer, Dick Ryder for the organization. I'm sure she probably has some sort of faith in the organization, and just is just constantly tweeting and talking about how unfair the judicial process has been for Nason Joaquin, and how unfairly the church has been persecuted supposedly. But yeah, this person is a member of La Luz del Mundo, and here they have a component where they talk about, it is titled "The Concept of the Divinity in La Luz del Mundo." This is kind of the least interesting portion of the entire journal. And I just think it's interesting that this happened to be third and not second. Like, you would think this would be the most, the second most, the second thing to put in this journal. But for some reason, the previous article by J. Gordon Melton, who, to my knowledge, I don't know who that person is. I don't think that person is a member of La Luz del Mundo. But here you have two people writing about La Luz del Mundo that are not part of the church. And they're writing about swaths of history of the church, and yet the third person who shows up here is actually a member, Sara Pozos. The fourth component here is La Luz del Mundo's social and charitable activities by Rosita, and pardon me if I mispronounce this, Sorite. I do not know who that is. I've read this journal. I have a lot to say about this. This is, again, another very unimpressive part about the journal, but let's move on. The fifth component, the second to last one, is Field Report: The Light of the World in Greater Los Angeles by Donald A. Westbrook. I'm pretty sure in reading this that this person isn't part of the organization. And I think we're close to some people that were part of the church and that they, gave them tours or something. But yeah, I'm not sure who this is, and I hope, and I hope I will make the video. I will make the video on this journal and talking about its various components. And I do want to say that that this component here is also kind of a little jarring, where it's just not very interesting. And we'll get to that later. Let me know what you think about this. And again, one of the last things I'll say about this journal is that another component, the final component of this journal from early 2020, is a chapter called Discrimination Against La Luz del Mundo Members After the Arrest of the Apostle. It is by Francisco Tenorio. Francisco Tenorio is very interesting in that I think later in 2020 or the following year, but like basically kind of like within a year of this journal being published in early 2020, Francisco Tenorio completely like disavowed and has completely untied himself from La Luz del Mundo as I know it. I know that like in late 2020 or early 2021, so somewhere around that time frame, this guy actually became a very loud critic of the church. This guy is some sort of a Christian researcher or something from Brazil, and again, not a member of the church. But here he is writing this journal article on discrimination against La Luz del Mundo members after the arrest of the apostle. I do not deny that there has been some sort of level of discrimination and some sort of capacity against members of the church after the arrest of the apostle. I'm not going to deny that. I absolutely think that's real. But I'll have more to say on that later. And also, it's interesting because again, Francisco Tenorio, like within a year of this, actually rescinded his support of the organization. He started to really put a lot of pressure on the organization to answer his questions. He felt he was misled by the people that he met, that he was misled by the higher ups in the organization to write this puff piece for the church. And let me know what you think. I do want to get through this. I have made intense notes throughout so much of this, and as you can see, it might be interesting to go through this together. And I hope it'll be of use to you. I hope it'll be of use to you because, again, number one, you probably haven't read this. You probably won't read this, but I do want you to know that La Luz del Mundo has this sort of the higher ups in the organization have this bent and have always had this bent for decades of trying to legitimize the church in the eyes of the public through different ways. As you can see here, the most, anyone who knows about the organization knows that that Nason Joaquin is the top leader in the organization, and the entire thing is supposed to revolve around him ostensibly. But notice here that in this venue of academic writing, a very important, sharp writing that you're supposed to put out for the world to give information on La Luz del Mundo, Nason Joaquin isn't fucking writing here. He's not writing here. Of course, all these these people at different points are going to talk about him, and as Francisco Tenorio has here, he's going to talk about the apostle and stuff. But this journal is very interesting in that it comes several months after the arrest of Nason, and it is here to launder legitimization of the church. It is here to provide an air of academic legitimacy, or like legitimacy and study of this place, which I'm not going to deny. I'm obviously doing that as an academic myself. I'm obviously writing my own historical work on the organization, but here I do think it would be interesting to go through this and just tear it apart bit by bit, because there are some sentences that I read and that I just marked gigantic X's next to it because it was just preposterous, stupid, like writing. And I want to say, now that we're 4 years out from this thing, when is the next like academic journal on La Luz del Mundo? Who's going to write the next big work on the church? Who within the organization is going to write that next big work and show that over the past 5 years that the church has actually been growing and has not been shrinking and dwindling and just withering away. So let me know what you think. This is an idea. This might be my next video. Let me know what you think. I hope that this is useful. I hope that this video is useful, and of course that the following ones are as well. So for the topic of today's videos, I want to go through a number of journals, not a number of journals, a number of online articles that I read, that I bookmarked, that I wanted to return to, that I want to recognize that there is a selection process here for the items that I have here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different articles I want to read through and pick apart with you all. I hope that this is useful. There has been obviously a selection process here for this stuff. This is some of the stuff that I just kind of kept open as I was reading through a lot. I haven't just been reading news articles, revisiting news articles from, like, say, Isaías Alvarado at Univision. I have also been reading these other corners of the internet where La Luz del Mundo supposedly has a presence and some sort of legitimization. And again, before we go on with this video, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment. That is the conversation after the conversation. Shoot me an email with any points of discussion that you have with me. Share this with somebody that you think might need to see this, who is either part of the organization or maybe is on the fence, is tiptoeing out, someone who wants to learn a little bit more about La Luz del Mundo's online presence. Because it's very interesting, and I think that I want to plant a flag here to as we've been talking about in other videos. This is part of La Luz del Mundo's online presence, and if La Luz del Mundo has any future, its online presence needs to drastically change. Now, mind you, the fact that Big Fat Mexican over here is arrested in the state of California for the next decade The fact that this guy is arrested and that the church has been decapitated to some extent by the incarceration of its leader, um, that has completely plagued the church over the past 5 years. And it's important that for people like me to upload videos like this in English, on YouTube, in order to get on people's feeds, to get on people's radars when they look up La Luz del Mundo. Maybe someone is interested in joining the group, maybe someone is not so interested in it, but it is important that we continue to plague and sicken in the best way possible the online presence of this organization. Again, like I showed in a previous video, La Luz del Mundo has websites where it talks about its charity work or whatever other bullshit, and the pages can be empty, or the pages can be empty, or there's just like gibberish of code where there's no actual content on the pages, on official La Luz del Mundo pages. Another thing that's interesting is that the church's presence is kind of more pushed on social media, and even then it's not that big as it can be, or one would expect it to be. Another thing about La Luz del Mundo is that the bad news and the bad press and the radioactive content on it that is online is only going to grow from this point. I really don't see no turning back. And so that's why I think it's interesting to go through this content, and I hope that it is useful for you all as you, at whatever point you are in leaving this church or gaining some sort of militancy against it. I hope that this is helpful for you all. Okay, so to begin, this is the website of CESNUR, the Center of Studies of New Religions. Here you have its title up top in Italian. This is a journal article from 2018, as you can see in the URL, and it is titled "The World's Fastest Growing Religious Movement?" Visiting La Luz del Mundo in Guadalajara. This is by Massimo Introvigne. Ladies and gentlemen, why is it that Massimo Introvigne, a gentil, an academic, a connected person, a learned person, whatever, whoever the hell he is, the fact that he is a non-member, it should be preposterous to all the present members and members back then in 2018 that this guy is the guy who gets access to Nason Joaquin, who gets to shake his hand, who gets to, as we'll read, who gets to hang out with him, and write this puff piece on the church. I, in my head, sort of want to create a ranking of who are the academics, the pseudo academics, the sort of I'm going to say bought or curried or favored researchers on the church. Who are the top? I wish I could make a ranking of who are the top people that the church whose name puts out there, who puts out their content to make it seem like the church is legitimate, that it's really garnering attention by not just everyday people, but by like studied people, and like catching the attention of Massimo Introvigne. I would be interested in making that sort of ranking. I'm not going to do that right now, but I do want to say that Massimo Introvigne is one of these people that the church, the higher ups, that they push his content out there, that they kind of have him sit off to the side to observe people at the Santa Cena, and make church members feel like they are not like they are guinea pigs, but they are like test subjects. We don't want the church members to feel like they are fish in a fish tank and that they are being observed by the outside world. That is what is happening, but I think it is very important for church members to recognize that the church, the higher ups, they bring in people like Massimo Introvigne to come and observe the church, take notes on it, do reportings on it. They bring those people in to make puff pieces like this one. We haven't gotten into it yet, but they bring people like Massimo Introvigne in to meet Nason, to get a tour of this facility, of that facility, to have dinner here, to have to attend this ceremony or that ceremony. And the church members, from their perception, as church members, they get to view these people out to the side and see like, oh, It is not just that I have faith in the church and that I feel whatever that I do. There's also this other legitimization of my faith, of this lifestyle that I have in this of this lifestyle that I have in this church. I'm not dancing around the point, but I just want to really, really reiterate that it is not an accident that people like him get to be brought in by the higher ups of the church, and that he gets to come in and then later provide some sort of puff piece for the church. Let's move on. The name of the title of this page is "The World's Fastest Growing Religious Movement?" Visiting La Luz del Mundo in Guadalajara by Massimo Introvigne. And we're going to read this kind of quickly. I've read this before, but I will highlight as I go. I hope that this isn't too dizzying to everybody. The world's fastest growing religion is now a cliche. As you will see in this article and in other articles, Massimo Introvigne, he can't escape the fucking typos. He's missing a quotation mark. He's missing the opening quotation mark here. So the world's fastest growing religion is now a cliche. Mormons have used the slogan for decades. Islam's claim to the title is as good as any other religions. Churches in China and Korea count themselves among the elite religious groups that are growing very fast. But Massimo says, quote, statistics are a matter of contention, and scholars can only offer educated guesses. So keep that in mind. This is how this guy is visiting La Luz del Mundo in 2018, and he's just starting off his paper with this and this and that and this. Statistics are only a matter of contention, and scholars can only offer educated guesses. We'll see if he offers an educated guess here. Outside of East Asia, La Luz del Mundo, whose headquarters are in Guadalajara, Mexico, La Luz del Mundo may well be the fastest growing religious movement. It is not impossible that it actually grows faster than the Asian groups I mentioned, because thus deserving the title of the world's fastest growing religious movement. That these groups are less studied by other international scholars of new religious movements depends on linguistic reasons, because the best part of the materials is published in languages other than English. But this also tells us that we should learn beyond Europe or the United States. So here Massimo is just saying that, he thinks La Luz del Mundo is the world's fastest growing religion. That may be a cliche, but don't ignore this church in Mexico that is primarily centered around Spanish. Don't let that language barrier take your attention, keep your attention from this church. And here he says, since 1931, the main religious act of La Luz del Mundo has been its yearly celebration of the Holy Supper, Santa Cena. On August 9, 2018, I went to Guadalajara for the welcome ceremonies leading to the event. Unfortunately, I could not stay for the whole week and the Holy Supper proper on the 14th. Unfortunately, I could not stay that whole week as I was scheduled to speak at the Association for Sociology of Religion's yearly conference in Philadelphia. But the welcome ceremonies offered more than a taste of the event. Massimo Introvigne wasn't at the 2018 Santa Cena. He was simply at the welcome ceremony. You, myself, and any other La Luz del Mundo member worth their salt knows that the attendance at the Santa Cena is the highest on the 14th and not the highest on the 9th at the welcome ceremony, days out from the ceremony. The ceremony is when there's the largest numbers. But here, Massimo is hedging. He's just qualifying all these educated guesses that he's going to give. He says, it was not my first visit to the beautiful province, Hermosa Provincia, the main center of La Luz del Mundo in Guadalajara. As a veteran of the so-called cult wars, I got interested in La Luz del Mundo in 1997 when it was attacked as a cult, when the leaders were accused of being involved in child abuse and possibly preparing a mass suicide. The accusations immediately looked as the usual anti-cult stereotypes, etc. Here he's just saying that he was first introduced to La Luz del Mundo back in the late 90s, back when the Heaven's Gate suicide happened in California, and that was just a small one. And of course, in the wake of that, there was a lot of fear, well substantiated. I think that other religious groups that are cult-like, that are high control, that are sketchy, that are very, sectarian and, to some extent secluded, that those, there was some fear that those groups might also do a mass suicide. And La Luz del Mundo was apparently within that scope. And then Massimo Introvigne says that, this kind of just drops off. And he says that in 2018, he met with René de la Torre, whose book, right now I'm reading, Hijos de la Luz. I guess I kind of recommend everybody to read that. I'm presently reading that. If you're going to recommend that to me, don't send it my way. Send me other things. We'll get to that. But yeah, he says that he met René de la Torre in 2018, and that this person assured him that the anti-Catholic agitation, that the anti-cult agitation against La Luz del Mundo was indeed what it looked to be, and that and to have a taste of La Luz del Mundo by visiting the Hermosa Provincia. There at the Hermosa Provincia, Massimo says that he saw peaceful Christians unjustly accused of personal vendettas, and in the following years followed the development of their activities in Italy and elsewhere. Massimo's really stupid. He's not a good writer. This is not copy edited. This is not revised. There were other. This is the second take that I have of this video, and part of the real frustration that I had with my first take was reading through this thing and finding places where I was reading out loud and just stumbling over my words, because this person is stumbling over the words that they typed, and I was mistaking those mistakes for my mistakes. But anyways, to move on, here he talks about the scholarly production. The scholarly production on Luz del Mundo is mostly in Spanish. It is not mostly English or another, non-Spanish language. And here he gives a little bit of a history of the church. He says that, that it was founded by Eusebio Gonzalez, that it was founded in 1926. He talks about how there was the Cristero War back then, and struggles over the power of the Catholic Church back then. And he talks about how, how this church sort of rose above that, those historical origins. The Cristero War ended in 1929, but from then on, Aron continued to have troubles with establishing his church, and especially in the face of Catholic hegemony, of the Catholic majority. He Eusebio, that most definitely has an uphill battle to fight with all the Catholics, and La Luz del Mundo to this present day has an uphill battle to fight with those people. Here he continues to talk about some other sort of churches that are part of this group, and but here's the important part. Here he says, by the time of Aaron's death in 1964, so over 30 years into the history of the church, almost 40 years, at the time of Aaron's death in 1964, the church, La Luz del Mundo, had expanded to Central America and the United States and counted among itself 25,000 members. Nowhere near 250,000 people. Keep that in mind. The church explains that the succession of the apostle is by divine call and validated by the community, to which the church clearly appears to be the will of God. It is true that Aaron was succeeded by his son Samuel, and then Samuel was succeeded by his son Nathan, but neither was the eldest son of his father. Okay, that is just some sort of excuse or justification, post hoc justification for for justification against the face of the accusation that the church is just the leadership of this church is just passed down the bloodline of the Joaquins. Here, Massimo Introvigne is saying, yeah, it's certainly passed in the family of the Joaquins, but this isn't a case of primogeniture. This isn't a case of the eldest son of the apostle is the one who gets to be apostle next. Here he's saying that Samuel wasn't the oldest son of Aaron when he became apostle, and then Nathan wasn't the oldest son when he became apostle. But as if that fucking matters. Anyways, by 1993, Massimo Introvigne says the church reached the mark of 4 million members. What the fuck is this? This is stupid. This is 2018. Massimo Introvigne is saying that in 2018, he's writing this. He's saying that 25 years prior, in 1993, the church reached the mark of 4 million members. This is in 2018. In 2019, the following year, the figureheads of La Luz del Mundo, Silem Garcia, Eliezer Gutierrez, Jack Freeman, Big Vai Estrada, whoever, all these people, all the higher ups within the organization, in 2019, they are peddling the claim of like La Luz del Mundo has 5 million members. This is on fucking national television. You can find this on YouTube. If you want me to find this for you, I will send it to you if you haven't seen this already. But honestly, if you're asking for it, I think you should do so much more research than this. It is preposterous right now that he says in 1993, the church reached the mark of 4 million members. Whether that's true or not, I don't think it's true. Put this sentence next to the fact that within 12 months, all the church's figureheads are saying that the church is actually 5 million in 2019. That would mean that the church grew 20% in the past 26 years, according to this sentence. I'm not here to argue about exact numbers of the church or anything like that, but I'm just saying that, like, what the fuck is this? This is completely stupid, off the mark, exaggerate. Someone's lying, someone's wrong, something's grossly wrong here with the supposed trajectory of growth of La Luz del Mundo that we're supposed to track. I have no doubt, and I absolutely don't deny that the church drastically grew under Samuel Joaquin, but how you track that and would mark that on a chart, on an Excel spreadsheet, on a bar graph, on a anything, it looks really stupid. It would look really stupid, and it makes the church's figureheads look really stupid. And again, I'm gonna fucking ask y'all. It's been 5 years since the 2019 thing. When is the church going to see that the church has grown to 6 million members, to 7 million members? That we haven't shrunk in the face of the arrest of the Nason Joaquin, and that being a decapitation of the church's leadership and its hierarchy. When are they going to say that they've hit 6 million? When are they going to do this? Tag me when they do. Are they going to have some sort of Excel spreadsheet? Are they going to have bar graphs? Are they going to have a line chart? Are they going to have any of that bullshit? They're fucking not. But here, Massimo Introvigne is the person who gets to have access to the church leadership and the intellectuals and all that other bullshit. And here his numbers say something, and in comparison to what the church will be saying the next year. And if you're a follower of this channel, let's just get this out the way. The church the claim that the church has 5 million members is something that has been circulating around since the 1990s. So I would bet my life savings and so much more that the church presently right now does not have more than 1 million members. Probably does not have more than 500,000. I don't know how to count it. The church isn't certainly counting it. But let me know when they come out with the evidence that they've been counting. Let me know. This is very important. This is really one of the reasons why I bookmarked this fucking page. Okay, so then he talks about how the church greatly expanded. Health prevented Samuel from traveling in his final years, and so the missionary activities were not as harsh as were not as hard as they could be. But then by the time that Nason comes in in late 2014, and he brings a new revitalization, rejuvenation for the church, and its attempts to spread into other places. So Massimo continues to say, the church faces opposition from the Catholic majority in Mexico. The church baptizes in the name of Jesus. They claim to be the primitive Christian church. They claim that the Catholics are not the primitive church, that they may have been that they may have a long history and whatever else, but over time that they have strayed away from the original teachings of the Bible and Christ and all that other stuff. And then here Massimo says that secular anti-cultists and feminists, scary, oppose the lifestyle of La Luz del Mundo's women because they wear long skirts and they live according to conservative family values. That's one way of putting it, Massimo. However, I met long-skirted women with professional skills and credentials as journalists and historians. The latter engaged in the much-needed endeavor to preserve and classify early documents of the church. I was not surprised that I met equally skilled journalists, lawyers, academics, etc., who are veiled Islamic and conservatively dressed Christian or Orthodox Jewish women. Here he says that in other conservative or highly religious groups that he has also met skilled women or otherwise in just skilled, trained professionals, etc., academics, journalists, etc. Okay, whatever. Let's go back up to this picture very quickly. Massimo Introvigne here is the bald fellow with a very unimpressed look. I guess I'm beating Nason. Here you have Nason off to the far right. Next to Nason in with his full face showing is Nicolas Menchaca, who is part of the Consejo de Obispos, the Council of Bishops. Complete glazer of Nason, let's just say that. And then off to the left, on the far left, we can't see his full face, but we do see the back of his head, is our good friend Bigvai Estrada, who is a minister within the church. I don't believe he's a member of the Council of Bishops of the Consejo de Obispos, but he's one of those high up people. I think he might still be presently stationed in Houston, Texas, but yeah, how did this picture come to be? Massimo says that in 2018, I met Nicolas Menchaca and Bigvai Estrada, two pastors of the LLDM, at a conference in the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. We renewed the acquaintance, and this led to Bigvai attending an event at the United Nations in Geneva. And then he brought me on tours to La Luz del Mundo temples in Houston, DC, and New Jersey. He says these churches are largely built through the members' own volunteer work, supposedly. He talks about how he just, that's how he got reacquainted with the church, apparently. And Massimo says that he had visited Hermosa Provincia in 1998. But by 2018, the church had changed so much. He said that in 2018, some 500,000 devotees from 57 countries attended the welcome ceremony. Again, Massimo was only at the welcome ceremony. He was not at the entire Santa Cena, but so be it, because 500,000 is apparently interesting to him. Apparently that's a number that he cares about. They would have been more, he says, had the church not decided that from 2018 on, the United States would have their own yearly ceremony, and Americans would no longer have to travel to the Guadalajara vet. Indeed, a parallel celebration in February in California gathered more than 150,000 La Luz del Mundo members from the United States. Now, look, this 500,000 figure here of devotees is interesting because, like I said, Massimo only attended the welcome ceremony. He did not attend the actual Santa Cena, as he says, on the 14th. But apparently he's going to spit out the number that is given, which is 500,000 devotees. If he was there on the Santa Cena day, there would be way more people than there are on any other day. Because as people know, as anyone who's seasoned and knows this organization, they know that the attendance is for sure high, like all week long for the Santa Cenas in Guadalajara. But they are not obviously their highest on the 9th. That is not the important day. That is just for fucking show. Later on, more people trickle into the neighborhood, and the height of the attendance is on the 14th. But here, Massimo Introvigne not providing us with any fucking Excel spreadsheet or PowerPoint or chart graph or statistics or anything like that. He's just going to, say that he knows that 500,000 people from 57 countries attended the welcome ceremony. Okay. This is really stupid in that, supposedly there's 5 million members, basically 5 million members by this point, and less than 10% of those people, about 10% of those people is apparently attending the most important ceremony that they can. Not everybody can attend. People in the United States were not necessarily supposed to attend the August 2018 celebration, but here apparently they did. And then he gives the number to say that back in February in California, in San Bernardino at the Glen Helen Amphitheater, I was there. He says that more than 150,000 LLDM members from the US attended the event. Here, he's not going to tell you, and people can fucking verify this, that in 2018, that February celebration, members from Guadalajara were allowed and given permission, if they wanted to go to California to attend that Santa Cena event. The reason for this was because the people of Hermosa Provincia, of Guadalajara in general, for decades have been the people to open up their front doors and welcome people in and host people as they attended the religious event as they attended the Santa Cena in Guadalajara. And now that in 2018, starting in 2018, the announcement was made in 2017 August that the US would have its own ceremonies from now on. In 2018, the fact that people from Guadalajara were encouraged to attend the event in California, because now this was a situation where they wouldn't have be expected to house people and all that crap. So this number is a little fuzzy. I don't know how many people from Guadalajara attended this event, but the numbers are fuzzy here. Add these two numbers up, it doesn't even equal to a fifth of the members of La Luz del Mundo that supposedly are out there. Anyways, Massimo Introvigne goes on to say, the atmosphere was festive. The barrios were all taken over by devotees from all over the world. I'm not going to deny, absolutely not going to deny, that in the Santa Cena in Guadalajara, in Hermosa Provincia, the temple is full almost all the time for every service, and people in the streets spill out, just hundreds and thousands of people on the streets. I'm not going to deny that. That is clearly true. But keep in mind that he's saying that there has to be more than 4 million members at this point in 2018. He hasn't told us how many members there are in 2018. I'm not saying that that's his job here to count them and shit. But it is very important that here, he's talking about all these people that are apparently coming in and flooding in the neighborhood. But, that is not impressive. What's impressive and what is worth something here is actual numbers. He goes on to say that the whole city of Guadalajara knows about the celebration. Leaders and foreign guests were received at the city hall by the mayor. Does he mean the mayor? There's a typo here. That's 6 years old. He's saying the city is proud to be the center of a world religion that claims 7 million members from so many different countries around the world. You stupid motherfucker. Massimo Introvigne right here is saying that La Luz del Mundo has 7 million members in 2018. They come from so many different countries around the world. Now, earlier, he gave the statistic that at the welcome ceremony, 57 countries were represented in the La Luz del Mundo welcoming ceremony. I am not going to fucking doubt that La Luz del Mundo members, etc., or what have you, are present in 57 countries. Definitely present in Mexico, definitely present in the United States, and in other Central American countries and whatever else, Latin American countries. But be fucking for real. And so many other countries where this church is present in, it's really just the fact that some fucking Mexican is recruited into the ministry and then sent off to the fucking Philippines or to fucking Poland or somewhere else. And then the church is going to claim that this country is conquered, etc. This number, the 57 countries, the number of countries that the church is present in, this can be artificially inflated. I don't think I'm ever going to fucking contest this number. I believe this. I have no issue, saying that La Luz del Mundo is present in dozens of countries. What I do have a problem with is the fact that this guy, Massimo Introvigne, gets to say in 2018 that the church claims 7 million members across the world. The following year, Nathan Joaquin gets literally less than a year from this. Nason Joaquin gets arrested in California. People like Silem Garcia, some woman, I can't think of her name. I should be learning her name by this point, but Silem Garcia, Eliezer Gutierrez, Jack Freeman, all these other fucking figureheads are saying that in 2019 the church has 5 million members. And like I'm saying, and like as you should refer to all my other videos, to a bunch of other videos, the church does not have 5 million members. That is a claim that has been circulating around since the 1990s. And here you have Massimo Introvigne saying it's 7 million members in 2018. This is stupid. This is so stupid. Let's flag this. And then look, the exact next sentence, 7 million members from so many different countries. Quote, I was moved by the accounts of the trials and successes of members in Russia and by the experiences of the so far lonely Polish member. Poland is counted among those 57 countries that the church is present in. I'm not going to doubt that the church is present in Poland. Okay, fine. I'll take that. But the church is not fucking exploding in size with actual membership numbers. This guy is just sent out there to fucking inflate that number. How many members are in Poland right now? Please, someone fucking tell me. Anyways, 4 delegations marched in the welcome ceremony. They attended. People sang the song of welcome. The diverse group confirmed what Mexican scholars have noticed. People took note of the relationship between La Luz del Mundo and the Institutional Revolutionary Party, PRI, a secularist party that claims the heritage of the Mexican Revolution from a century ago. Today, all sorts of politicians are friendly with the church, etc. Margarita Zavala de Calderon, a Catholic politician and former First Lady, was present at the welcome ceremony. Nason arrived. He was awaited. He was greeted. He arrived. Great enthusiasm. He spoke forcefully. He took the opportunity to. Oh, and then later, Massimo, the non-believer, the gentil, he gets to meet Nason in his apostolic home. They exchanged a few words after a meal. Foreign guests were there. He's charismatic. He's articulate. He's pleasant. He's an intelligent man. He's interested in how academics see the church. He toured the impressive facilities of the church in Guadalajara. TV, radio, and internet network Berentes Internacional, he toured it. The historical archives, he toured. The library, he toured. He had a short stay in there. He saw the charitable endeavors that the church was the church was putting forward. And he says, I went back from Mexico still puzzled by the problem of statistics, which does not concern La Luz del Mundo only, but persuaded by that the figure of 7 million members should not be too much off the mark. What the fuck does that mean? All 7 million fucking members weren't present at the welcome ceremony, obviously. But yet this guy is going to peddle this claim. He's just going to put it out there. And so be it. And so be it. We'll just take his word at it, I guess. It's not too much off the mark. People can only offer educated guesses. He's not going to give an Excel spreadsheet. He's not going to give a chart. He's not going to give anything. He has no statistics to flash here other than just these claims that he's making for the church. Did the church pay for this? What is this worth? Countries as El Salvador and Costa Rica, there's thousands of churches and small countries all around the world. There's a system of battalions, which are people that are trained to go hit up a specific city or country where the church is not yet present. I told the apostle and his co-workers that I see great potential for expansion in the Far East, where the church has not really started its missionary activities yet. Massimo right here is saying that the church is present in dozens of countries, Spanish, more English, a bunch of other languages, Europe, South America, Central America, North America, etc., etc. But in the Far East, according to La Luz Mundo, fuck them. We're not ready to spread salvation to them yet. Massimo goes on to say, in all continents, missionaries are at work. They're growing the church. The church never sleeps. People have been sleepy on, foreign scholars have been sleepy on the church. They need to pay more attention to it. It should be, La Luz del Mundo should be the center of academic study, as is true for other groups. And The more study that there will be, it will also prevent distortions and falsehoods that spread occasionally by the anti-cultists who have not forgotten the controversies of 20 years ago. Anyways, Massimo Introvigne here just basically publishes a fucking puff piece for La Luz del Mundo and gives the, we've gone through it already, but this is just a puff piece to sort of buff up the church. Doesn't provide any statistics or anything. Just sort of gives again, like I have been saying, an air of academic legitimacy, of sort of objective, scientific, bird's eye view legitimacy and observation of this church that is so apparently so magnificent and whatever else. He provides some pictures here, Massimo. Here's the main temple. Here's some people in the choir, some women in the choir waiting for the apostle, apparently. Here's the residence of the apostle draped in all these countries where their church is supposedly present. Here's the flag of Jamaica, if you can see my cursor. And like, how many fucking members are in fucking Jamaica? Please tell me. When did people first start going to Jamaica? Is Jamaica conquered? That's what the hymns and the rhetoric, as a whole says about this bullshit. What's going on? What's going on? Here's Massimo standing outside of the church. Here's a big banner with Nathan on the front. It's this is the welcome ceremony. Here's Nathan's big ass emblem right here, his logo. Massimo Introvigne stands here with this nice little suit and his cute little smile. He looks like a little kid. He was like a little kid with his parents taking a picture of him. Here's the former first lady that he mentioned earlier. Here's a bunch of people waving at the apostle when he arrives. Here's the Italian delegation. I mean, I don't know how many fucking people, how many La Luz del Mundo members are in Italy. I personally at least know or knew one person, but like, how many people are present in Italy right now? Come on, man. Like, you can't say the country is conquered, and if there's people present there, or like here, like the Russian delegation, if they're present there, then like, what's the fucking point? What's the fucking point? That's just the number that can be artificially inflated. What can't be so artificially inflated is the 5 million member mark, the 4 million member mark from 1993, the 5 million member mark that people were saying a year after this, or the 7 million mark that this guy is saying right now in 2018. The numbers matter. If the church can lie to you, distort, exaggerate, under exaggerate, then like, who's real here? Who can count? Who can fucking count here? Here's Nathan in the middle of the church. Okay, here's the grave of Aaron Joaquin. Okay, here's the grave of Samuel Joaquin. These are just kind of just shoddy pictures this guy took, I guess. All right, okay. Here is Massimo Introvigne with 2 church historians. They go unnamed. And as you saw in the Cessnud journal article that I showed, these 2 women, I don't know who they fucking are. I want to know who they fucking are. Let me know if you know their names, with all due respect. They're not the ones writing the short history of La Luz del Mundo in that journal. It's this fucking guy. Get the fuck out of here. Next one. This is also by Massimo Introvigne. This is the following year. This is in 2019. The previous one was in 2018. This is 2019. It is titled La Luz del Mundo Alive and Growing, Notwithstanding the Apostles' Detention. Okay. And here the pictures are peppered throughout the text. I'm going to read a little bit of the text. But as you can see, in 2019, the guy, Nason Joaquin has been arrested by the prosecutors, the police of California. And he has a number of charges. There are 3 co-defendants, etc. In the immediate wake, I don't know when exactly. I don't know what exact date. Please, if you know, let me know what you think and how you can prove this to me. But on what exact date were these letters brought up? Were these displays of honorable, #inocente, etc., etc., etc.? When were those erected in Hermosa Provincia? Now, Nason Joaquin was arrested on Monday, June 3rd, 2019. On Tuesday, June 4th, 2019, in that afternoon, Central Eastern Time, and that evening, afternoon, for Central Eastern Time, is when I myself found out, and a lot of other people found out, that Nathan had been arrested. But then, like, at what point, like that following week or something like that, please, someone let me know. If you happen to know the exact date, let me know. With these objects were erected in the neighborhood of Hermoso Provincia. So here, as we went on through the title, here Massimo Introvigne is going to talk about how the arrest of the apostle and how the church hasn't completely blown up or like obliterated or something. He says, and this is how the article starts. I'm quote, last year, I attended in Guadalajara, Mexico, the welcoming ceremony preparing the yearly Holy Supper of La Luz del Mundo, a Mexican religious movement with some 5 million members internationally. You stupid motherfucker. In the previous article, you said that there were 7 million members around the world. We didn't know where the fuck you got that from. You said it. Okay, this next, and you're just not going to address it in this next article here where you say that the church has 5 million members internationally. Okay. And he says, I wrote a short travelogue explaining why there are good reasons to believe that La Luz del Mundo is the fastest growing religion on earth. He gives no percentages. He compares no percentages. He doesn't like talk about how one group claims members, how another group claims members, how another group claims members, how he is the academic Italian sociologist is going to qualify or define what members is in any group. We don't get any of that. We just get his name and just and again, he's just laundering this bullshit to members. He's not a member himself. He's a gentil. He's just someone writing about the church. Basically, for the purposes of church members to read the shit and make themselves feel like they're special and a part of something special and otherworldly and bigger than beyond themselves. Anyways, he says there's 5 million members here internationally. He says, I was particularly impressed by the domestic and international charity network of charity that this church does. They pay La Luz del Mundo pays special attention to women of domestic violence and Latino immigrants in the United States and elsewhere. Hey man, I'm not gonna front against that. If they do that and it's good, then it's fucking good and so on. But any La Luz del Mundo member worth their motherfucking salt knows that the church is not super duper founded on fucking charity. It's just not. That's a topic for another day. But here, you know, he's given this puff piece, okay? He's not a believer. He knows all this bullshit. He gets to see La Luz del Mundo from like a bird's eye academic view, but he's not a believer. He doesn't believe that Nason diverted a hurricane 4 years earlier. He doesn't believe that Nason can cure the blind, can raise people from the dead, or like any other bullshit that Nason has said on camera. But you know, but these words, to whatever extent that they are, they're worth something to La Luz del Mundo members, and more especially, they are worth something to the higher ups in the organization. So he says that this charitable work in May 13, 2019, Firma gave a charity award to Nason Joaquin at the Turin Book Affair, Turin, Italy, because of the church's supposed charity work. Okay. La Luz del Mundo's good deeds in the field of charity and human rights earned the apostle in the last few years several dozen awards, such awards including awards from the Mexican Parliament. Okay. The apostle was arrested by California prosecutors for sexual abuse against 4 women, 3 of whom are minor. And this is really stupid. Massimo says, commenting on the accusations is impossible since the attorney general has let some police officers describe evidence they claim that they found, but it has not been made available to defense attorneys. Every police officer is, I'm not going to say, you know, I don't like to say this myself. Every police officer is a pig. I think that is an offense to pigs, but any police officer in any capacity is philosophically a piece of shit. But this is really stupid for him to say, because like at this point in 2019, the bail hearings may have or may have not, he doesn't say, but they may or may have not at this point, you know, been figured out. They were figured out in August 2020, definitively at that point. But But here I'm going to say that it is important that this guy is going to say that commenting on the accusations is impossible. It's not fucking impossible. The police officers clearly had something to say. The attorney general clearly had something to say. There was a 26-page report that came out the day that Nason was arrested that clearly has a lot to say. That there was a lot of other bullshit that the attorneys for Nason Joaquin were saying at that time, but he's not going to say that. He's just going to sort of brush this off. He's going to comment on it. Obviously, he's clearly responding to the fact that Nason was arrested, but he's going to hedge. He's going to hedge it. He's going to angle it in a certain way. Supposedly there's evidence that hasn't been made available to the defense attorneys at that time. And Massimo, man, he says, commenting on the accusations, it's impossible. But then the following sentence, he says, beyond the fact that the allegations are reported, he comments and he says that they appear somewhat bizarre. They appear somewhat premature. The apostle is still in jail in California. It's kind of bizarre. After the arrest, opponents of La Luz del Mundo made several predictions. They predicted that the Santa Cena would not take place, or it would be attended only by a handful of followers, or that La Luz del Mundo would fall apart. It still hasn't fallen apart. Scholars would, and people made the prediction that scholars may shy away from studying the organization, and he says that Russian anti-cultist Alexander Dvorkin, I may be mispronouncing that, pardon me. Alexander went so far as to say that he thinks I will cancel my articles from the internet on La Luz del Mundo and the pictures I have with the apostle in 2018, et cetera, et cetera. He basically, Massimo was saying that I have convictions on this church, and the fact that this guy was arrested is not going to pull me away from the church. I think the accusations are bizarre, as he says. I and other scholars went to the Santa Cena in 2019. Here he did. Last year, he didn't go to the Santa Cena. In 2018, he went to the welcome ceremony. But in 2019, he went to the Santa Cena on the 14th of August. He says, he gets to say, it was an even bigger event than in 2018. Most Mexican media accept the church's statistics that the number of participants went from 500,000 in 2018 to 600,000 in 2019. I mean, okay. And actually, I want to know the Mexican media that accepted these statistics. I'm not very interested in statistics on the Santa Cena, but I'm very interested in statistics overall, in the overall statistics of the church. But here he's saying that the church grew, supposedly. He's not going to provide any charts or any fucking Excel spreadsheet or a line graph, a bar graph, etc., or like a head count or nothing. But he's just, people are just going to throw these numbers out there. And he says, discussing figures is always impossible. It's not impossible, Massimo. You can go there yourself and, theoretically, without the, specifics of this thing, you can go there and count the fucking people head by head. You, as the Italian sociologist who is an academic, who is not part of the church, who can sort of give a bird's eye view, studious viewpoint of the church, you can do that. But here he's just saying, discussing figures is always impossible. And in the previous article, he says, people can only give their best estimates. What the fuck is it going to be? I can confirm that the human river extended for blocks around the main temple in the Hermosa Provincia in 2019. And in the 2 additional locations in Guadalajara where the Holy Supper was celebrated and blah, 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 he just saw a lot of people, is what he says. I'm not going to deny, I've seen it myself. People flood the streets in that church. That doesn't give exact numbers. Here he's just saying that he saw these people. Did he have a drone? Was he just on the ground? He was just on the ground, right? Does he say he had a drone to like fly above Hermosa Provincia to give an aerial view of people? Did he count the little dots of heads? No, he didn't. What the fuck is this? This is trash. This is a presence of La Luz del Mundo on the internet that is trash, confused, agendaed, biased, etc. Participation was higher than last year. There were tears, there was enthusiasm, there was joy. Adoraim Joaquin, he was there. He read a letter from his father. He moved the audience. He was an effective preacher, but there was no indication that La Luz del Mundo was ready to point him or anybody else as the apostle. Okay, but why the fuck was he there? It's clearly very important that that guy was there. Now, mind you, as you said in your previous article, Samuel, when he succeeded Aaron, Samuel was not the oldest son of Aaron. When Nathan succeeded Samuel, Nathan was not the oldest son of Samuel, and that is apparently supposed to give some sort of air of legitimacy, or that is supposed to eat away at the criticism that the apostleship is passed on through the Joaquin family, father to son, etc. Here he says, Adoraim Joaquin, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't say that, hey, Adoraim is actually the only son of Nathan. He doesn't say this, because if he did, that would, to some extent, signal that Adoraim is the only son of Nathan, and therefore, given the tradition so far of the past century in La Luz del Mundo and the Joaquin family's place within it, Adoraim could very well be the very next apostle. Nathan continues to be the revered leader of the church. There's banners, there's t-shirts, there's floral arrangements, umbrellas with the hashtags Honorable and Inocente. Okay, you know, he talks about how it is too early to give any comment on the situation, but he is surrounded by comments of the present situation. He says the accusations are bizarre, and so like, is he in line with this Honorable and Inocente bullshit? I mean, obviously he is. And like, why provide the translation for innocent and inocente and not honorable and honorable? I don't know. Let's move on, guys. He says, baptism continued at record rates. Where are the records? Where are the fucking rates? International expansion. Where are the records? Where are the rates? Interest in the church has grown. Humanitarian aid, charitable work. Clearly, the words of the apostle are worth it. People can't deny that the church was attended by a lot of people. Okay. Sociological theory predicts that persecution and incarceration of the leader of a group can wipe out or kill small religious movements, but in the case of La Luz del Mundo, and is this like a flex? Is this a fucking flex that the guy is arrested and that he says, but churches are still capable of surviving and prospering. La Luz del Mundo has certainly survived. I don't know if it has certainly prospered since this, but it has certainly survived. But then he compares La Luz del Mundo, and you can read this for yourself. I'm not going to do this. This is my second take of this thing, but he compares this to the Korean case of some other group where the guy was arrested, and then okay, La Luz del Mundo would clearly say that group is wrong. They're all going to hell. That's not real, etc. Those are distortions of relationships with God and the Bible and religious teaching and whatever else. But like here in this fucking paragraph, Massimo Introvigne, the Hegel scholar of La Luz del Mundo and whatever else, is apparently putting them in the same camp as a group that La Luz del Mundo would very clearly see as a fucking cult. Okay, this is a Santa Cena. Human rights activists attended it. Government bureaucrats attended. He says, La Luz del Mundo denounced cases where after the apostle was arrested, the church was, church members and pastors were vandalized, children were bullied in school, employees were fired from their jobs, et cetera, that this is some sort of religious intolerance that was leveled to La Luz del Mundo. And hey, I don't deny that any of this stuff happened. It's tragic that it happened. I don't want it to happen to them, obviously. But all the flack, to put it lightly, that Nathan got himself is completely well-deserved. It's not stupid. It's not bizarre, like he says. And And it's tragic if people face religious persecution. That's tragic. I would definitely go against that, because I'm on the side of the members getting out of this church, obviously denouncing, divesting, boycotting, sanctioning, etc. But when it comes to them being persecuted themselves, if they haven't done anything themselves, then like I don't want them to get in trouble. I'm on their side. I don't want this to happen. I don't like the fact that the persecution happened. I'm not going to deny that. But here, Massimo's just, he has to say something for the puff piece. He has to say something. He's not going to give comment on anything, but here are all the comments. He says, I'm not going to comment on anything. It's too early. But hey, it's bizarre. But hey, this and hey, that, and this and this and that. He said these are not unexpected consequences of ill-advised comments made about the church. He says there have been improper generalizations in the media. He says that the reaction of members in the church has been admirable. There was no harsh criticism of any opponent. On the contrary, words of peace and reconciliation were continuously heard. No, they fucking weren't. No, they fucking weren't, Massimo Introvigne. Because the church's own lawyers from the very start, not the church's own lawyers, because if there were the church's own lawyers, there would be church members, but Nason's lawyers at that time, Kenneth Rosenfeld and Alan Sawyer, those guys were not really saying anything necessarily admirable or giving harsh criticism. They did give harsh criticisms of their opponents, the prosecutors. They were saying that the opponents, that the prosecutors were involved in a high-tech hit job, a framing of Nason, that everybody else was a motherfucking liar. Nason is legit. He's real. We don't believe of him. We don't believe he has all the magic divine powers as he claims he has. But here in this portion, we're going to say that, but back in August, back in July, June, they were talking about how this is a high-tech hit job. He's being framed. This is not real. There's deep fakes, etc. Keep that in mind. You can look at previous videos if you want me to point you in certain directions about this particular moment in time. I can do that for you, but here, Massimo Introvigne is not doing that for you. If you're reading this in 2019 when this came out, this is not doing that for you, and couldn't have done this for you back then. Is not interested in doing this for you. The audience that this thing is interested in is in members of La Luz del Mundo, and whatever academic that is not worth their salt is reading this and thinking, oh, this is the fastest growing religion in the world. Okay. This is not the fastest growing religion in the world. There's a very stark contradiction between this article and the previous article. In the previous one, he says in 1993, the church reached 4 million members. And this one, he's saying 5 million members in 2019. Just shave off 40% of my previous estimate. And after all, it's okay. People can only offer their best educated guesses. People can only speculate. People can only eyeball it. I went there. I eyeballed it. I wasn't even there for the whole week. I eyeballed it, etc. I hope this makes sense. If you have a question, let me know. I hope this makes sense. He continues. People gave extraordinary testimony of their faith and endurance. Scholars of religion are often hardened by observation of commendable and less commendable activities carried out by religious groups. But this time, with La Luz del Mundo, we could not be failed to be moved. We were just moved. We're academics. We eyeball it. Blah blah blah. We're just moved. We don't count. We don't keep a tally. We don't do any of that. We're just moved. And he's not a member. He's not moved like everybody else is in the church. And this guy's getting paid money. This guy's, to some extent, or clout or something. I'm so sure of it. This guy is being paid money to give puff pieces of the church, to hype up the church for people that are part of it. And those people are going to be moved by this. But any academic, statistician, etc., scholar of new religions and whatever else, they're not going to be moved by this. This is not interesting. Is this the best content that you have out there on La Luz del Mundo? It's not. We'll get to that in the CESNU journal. But here, what is this? Did La Luz del Mundo pay for this? Maybe to some extent. If they didn't, maybe you should pay for someone. Maybe you should find someone better. Anyways, people were not moved by the accusations. Knowing the real facts about the apostle was impossible. No, it's not. It's not impossible. He says, what is possible, however, is to admire the unshakable faith of countless members of men and women on La Luz del Mundo, and I applaud their continuing good deeds in the charitable and humanitarian fields where they operate. And they even cry with them as they and their children suffer discrimination as oppression. Oh, tragic. Opponents may laugh at how millions of people can still believe in the apostle accused of serious crimes, and they keep predicting that La Luz del Mundo will meet its demise. Quote, in these matters, however, religions, not their slanderers, usually have the last laugh. What the fuck is this? This is some stupid fucking content. Massimo Introvigne is here to provide a puff piece on La Luz del Mundo to some extent, but then on the other extent, in this paragraph, and in the previous, and one of the previous paragraphs, not this one. And in other, the one we're talking about, the Korean group. Yeah, we're in this one. We're talking about he just lumps La Luz del Mundo as kind of as any other religion in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this is stupid. I hope it's very clear to you that these sorts of things that La Luz del Mundo is procuring, I imagine, is stupid content to make people in the church feel like they're special, like they're part of something larger than themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I hope it's clear to you that when you read this and the previous thing, that there are some completely jarring and stupid contradictions that are floating out there on La Luz del Mundo that eat away at the giganticness of that eat away at the veracity of the church and its doctrine. This is this is embarrassing. This is the presence of La Luz del Mundo to some extent, on the internet, and it's fucking trash. It's fucking trash. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna have to take a break and we'll catch up on these other tabs, but yeah, for now I'm gonna stop. Howdy everyone. Welcome back to the Money Store. This is a channel where we talk about La Luz del Mundo and its unraveling and its history over the past century, so they say, but especially its past history over the past 5 years. My name is AJ. This is part 2. I had a little bit of an intermission. I was kind of on a roll with those first 2 articles, and now that we're past this intermission, I'm going to go into this next component. I hope this segment is useful to you all. I am quite parched, and I hope that my energy doesn't let up in the next whatever amount of time that we have. I have at least 3 different more articles that I want to go through, but right now, again, I hope that it is clear that this person that we have been reading from Massimo Introvigne, and things that we may continue to read from him in the future and future videos. I hope it is clear that this guy is at the very least a fishy character, a sort of interesting character in the legitimization, the popularization, the sort of popularization, what other words can I use, of the sort of academic support that La Luz del Mundo seeks in the present day. It is, I have no doubt that it is that this sort of attention is something that the organization seeks in the present day more than it has in several decades in the past. This is me speaking about Massimo Introvigne. I can speak to him to whatever extent that I have in this present video, but I must say that my opinion and general review of this person was shaped several years back in late 2021, where the channel Analizando la Doctrina LLDM, this is a channel by Dante Mandela. I've shouted out this channel before. I very much appreciate it. I haven't listened to Dante Mandela in the past handful of months, and that is a pseudonym that this person uses. But that channel, Analizando la Doctrina LLDM, you can look this up. I hope that you let me know if you need this. This channel that posts in Spanish videos on YouTube, very long, but some of them are very informative. And there was one that came out in late 2021 regarding this person of Massimo Introvigne and his background, and what sort of background this person has that sort of led him up to the point within the past handful of years where this guy is um, where this guy has been writing about La Luz del Mundo and so on. And so in this video, continuing on, I do want to give a shout out to that video by Dante Mandela. If I remember, I'll leave a link in the description. And I want you to know that these articles, who knows how many, these articles that we have read so far in this video, who knows how many views this has, but this has some sort of capital among someone or some sort of group of people. The group of people that I'm concerned with is that it is the members of La Luz del Mundo. I don't want people to read this stuff from this person and any other pseudo academic of the church or any other religion. I don't want them to read this stuff and recognize and feel like they come away legitimized or justified in their beliefs that La Luz del Mundo is the fastest growing religion on the planet, or that La Luz del Mundo has X amount of members at this point, has X amount of members at this point, has reached a certain point in its history and not actually shrunk like people predict, but is actually grown and whatnot. Again, I'm going to continue to hammer this home. At what point is the church going to come out and say that there is 6 million members, that the church reached 6 million members, that since the arrest of Nason and all the debacles in the 3 years after that, and in the now 2 years almost since that, that the church has only grown? There is this narrative. Don't get taken away by it. Be suspicious of what the aesthetics, broadly speaking, of what the general impression is of the church online. If the church is larger than it says, if the church is larger than it says it was the other day, it should look like that. It doesn't look like that. And again, like, comment, share, subscribe, send me an email with any sources that you have regarding things that you want me to read. If you are someone who is part of the church that wants to talk to me on a respectfully recorded line, then we can do that. And I want to find I myself right now am on a mission to find the most I don't want to say charitable, but the most fortified, non-strawman like position of people in the organization. This is an organization that is growing, that seeks to grow in its influence and its academic legitimacy and its attention from scholars and whatnot. And I have yet to find that. I have yet to find the member who is actually well versed in this stuff and has legitimate good rebuttals for the case that the church is growing, is being accepted by wider society, it is populated by people with professional degrees and people who are esteemed in their fields or outside of, and all that stuff. Without getting too ahead of myself and the next half of the video that I want to go into, I just want to say that this content from Massimo Introvigne, from the LLDM YouTubers, from Batallón Cibernetico, from this other popular Twitter account, from this other Twitter account, from this YouTube account, from that YouTube account, whatever not veil, but sort of a cloak of statistics and feed of numbers and supposed growth that they shoot left and right in whatever post that they do online, for all those things in their totality, those things do not amount to answering my question of, when is it that the organization is going to say that it has hit 6 million members, that it has hit 7 million members, like Massimo Introvigne said that the church had in 2018, apparently, and then the 5 million members that the church says it had in 2019. It has been almost 5 years since that, 59 months since that, 59 months. And since those figureheads were on the TV saying that, you know, the church has 5 million members, we've yet to hear more actual conglomerated results of the church being larger than it is. So yeah, I want to refer people to that video by Dante Mandela. I hope this video is not going on too long, but you know, this is a number of things that I have been wanting to say from this particular angle about La Luz del Mundo. And I am parched. I hope that I'll go a little more gently on my throat as I continue to talk about this stuff. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Send me an email. Send me a suggestion of things you want me to read, links, articles, etc. You want to put on my radar. I will very respectfully engage with those things, including if you're a member of La Luz del Mundo. I have had public and private back and forths with people, more private than public, but you could perhaps dig through the history of videos on this channel and find exchanges that I've had with people that, you know, that you in reading can see that they are members, and they think that they have certain rebuttals for what's going on this channel. If you're interested in reading those things, go find those things. But otherwise, going forward, I can certainly want to continue to post, and I want this to be as useful as it possibly can be, and to say my demographic of more younger folks that were born in the organization, or you know, content in English, content that is aimed at people that are in the United States. I did grow up in La Luz del Mundo in the United States for the most part, and I understand the church from the Mexican side, from being on the ground in the Hermosa Provincia many weeks of my life. I do understand it in that way, but then I also understand it as what the church is trying to morph into the future for survival. That's all I have to say. I say let's continue sharing my screen. We will continue to read what we just read. We've read 2 articles from Massimo Introvigne. We will now go on to the third one. This is an article that I came across from late March 2022. It is by Jesus Lopez Tapia. Here's a picture of Jesus Lopez Tapia. I know him. I knew him in person. I don't think I've ever exactly spoken to him in person, but I knew him from many years ago. I haven't spoken to him in many years, but I want to I wish to comment on this, in that I think it is interesting for a member of La Luz del Mundo to be writing in the way that they are right here. So this is an article that I found on laopiniondehouston.com. That is the opinion of Houston.com, but it is, you know, spell that out in Spanish to get to it. I've used Google Translate here to make it easier for me to read and to keep the content in English that I am reading out loud audibly. But the original article is in Spanish, and so if something is written a little funny, don't ascribe it to Jesus Lopez Tapia. That there are other things that are there are other things we should pay attention to. So the title of this article from late March 2022, this is before Nathan's guilty plea. This is before the trial almost starts in June 2022. And the title of the article in English, you know, automatically translated, is Prosecutor's Office Spreads False Criminal Charges Against Nathan Joaquin. Okay. Jesus Lopez Tapia, it is by him. He is apparently the editor-in-chief. The article begins: in a plot to discredit the honorability of the apostle Jesus Christ, Nathan Joaquin, to stop the growth of La Luz del Mundo Church, the Vatican, the Catholic prosecutor, who is a member of Opus Dei, and the media have spread criminal charges. Here he is saying that criminal charges have been presented to Nathan, and it is being brought by a prosecutor who is Catholic, and some sort of ties or loyalty or interest that this person has in the Vatican, and the center of power within the global Catholic Church. And this prosecutor is apparently a member of Opus Dei. You know, a lot in this first sentence. And this person goes on to say, Jesus goes on to say, once again, the United States judicial system is in question before the eyes of the world. Attorney Alan Jackson filed a 211-page motion on March 15th, stating that the California prosecutors fabricated and altered evidence. You can, I don't know if this motion from this date, there's been many motions, obviously. I can't remember off the top of my head if there has been a motion in this past date. I'm sure there was, but was it 211 pages? Maybe, I'm sure. But I can tell you that overall, in my reading of all the motions and the following very closely of the entire case as it unfolded, especially at this point, within these sentences, I will comment, and this sort of, I've read the whole thing already, but, right now I will comment that Alan Jackson and his team, Caleb Mason, etc., this is the second wave of lawyers that came in. This is different from Kenneth Rosenfeld and Alan Sawyer in the fall of 2019, in the summer of 2019. That was the first wave, because after that is when there was a switch to Alan Jackson and company. Alex Jackson and company, and in the previous person, certainly talked about framing, about some sort of hit job, so to speak, quote, and then also so to speak, but never at any point did they ever speak about Javier Becerra being Catholic, or this prosecutor being Catholic, or they were talking about Javier Becerra, but Amanda Pilsner and other people were in the courtroom, were handling themselves, and were California prosecutors under Javier Becerra. People like them were in the courtroom seeking justice against Nason Joaquin as they saw it. And they, at no point, were ever speaking about, in opposition to Pilsner, Jackson and company, were never ever speaking about Catholic hegemony, overreaches of power, Catholic conspiracy, etc., etc. The church feels a certain way about the Catholic Church within the La Luz del Mundo cares a certain way about the Catholic Church in Mexico, and then it also cares about the Catholic Church as a whole globally. But just know this, okay? Just know this going forward. Jesus quotes saying, he deliberately omitted clearly exculpatory evidence, the prosecutor. The defense says. The defense continues to say, his purpose has been to unjustly retain Nason. That question is very reasonable person asks as why they deprive the man, the freedom of a man for more than 2 years without giving proof of the charges that he is accused of. This is a very important sentence, because this is a man, Jesus Lopez Tapia, whatever the hell he's up to. It's March 2022. It is not yet the point of the trial. The prosecutors, since the summer of 22, have wanted to get to the point of trial. Everybody wants to get to the point of trial. Some people don't, but leave them aside. But just the people that want the trial, regardless of what their situation and closeness is to this situation is, they, of course, want the truth-seeking mission, and to become involved, because it is at that point that the charges are supposed to be proven and whatnot. So just like Massimo Introvigne in the previous article was saying, like, oh, it's too early to comment, but the shit is bizarre, and oh, they're letting the cops speak about stuff. Massimo Introvigne at that point in the article, in the previous article, and then Jesus Lopez Tapia at this point in the article, are not engaging with the clear fact that the case is at a certain point in the process. It is not at another point. Excuse me for that. Of course, when this thing was published, no one could be absolutely sure that Nason would take a guilty plea, that a deal would be struck between the prosecutors and the defendant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this person is not writing that way. He's not even writing that way. And who is this for? Who is this article? A small article. This isn't LA Times. This isn't New York Times opinion page. This isn't anything major like that. Any major bulletin point like that. This is La Opinión de Houston. Who knows how many people have have seen this and really cared about this. According to this, it has gotten 4,500 views. Okay. But who knows how many views it got when it came out. But anyway, so the point is that like this person who is a member of La Luz del Mundo, I'm quite sure, and it is whatever, profession that they are from. But, this person is just, blatantly and stupidly not engaging with the context in which they are at that point, and are not divulging any information on what any of this means. Their bias is showing. That is one way of putting it. Jesus Lopez Tapia goes on to talk about Ana Victoria Ochoa Bojorquez. Pardon me if the name is mispronounced. Ana Victoria Ochoa Bojorquez, researcher of religious phenomena in the world. She has a master's degree in history from the National University of Colombia, and she's a professor at the University of Antioquia. Ana Victoria announced in a lecture on political charges and new religiosities in Medellin, quote, that there is a very determined intention, end quote, among the Catholic clergy to stop the growth of La Luz del Mundo because, quote, the Catholic creed has been decreasing greatly, end quote, while the advance of this church seems unstoppable. Ana Victoria Borges, I've seen a presentation at Medellin. I think I'm pretty sure I've seen this one that this guy is referring to. I will say that right now in my research, I've seen a presentation from Ana Victoria from the spring, from March or February, in 2020. And you can find this on YouTube for yourself. You can look up this person and probably find this for yourself. It is shared on Facebook as well. This person made some sort of presentation at some sort of conference back in early 2020. And she basically talked about the church. And another thing to say is that eventually this person talked about why Nathan was arrested at this point, and was talking about how, again, like this guy quotes, that there was a very determined intention from the Catholic Church, from the Catholic clergy, to stop the growth of La Luz del Mundo. And Jesus Lopez Tapia, I'm not saying that he necessarily has to give numbers and statistics at this point, but he hasn't at this point. And Ana Victoria Ochoa, in her presentation, does not give statistics and proof and evidence at the point that she gives her little presentation. You can go back, and I can go back and we can go see what exactly she says, if she alludes to any sort of numbers or anything like that. No one's giving any numbers. No one's giving any numbers right now. Okay, is the point. And supposedly there's this Catholic conspiracy here. He goes so Jesus Lopez Tapia goes into the Catholic conspiracy here. As proof of this, Ana Victoria reports that in the academic thesis directed by René de la Torre on history, they thank the priest Tomás de Ijar Ornelas, quote, with whom I was able to openly dialogue, quotes the researcher verbatim, and who helped me think about Catholic strategies to stop growth of the light of the world in the east of the city. This thesis was in 2016. I've read René de la Torre. I'm still reading Hijos de la Luz, which is the book that came out in the 1990s. I don't know who Tomás I don't know who Tomás is. But this person is just pointing to a quote supposedly saying that two people were thinking about Catholic strategies to stop the growth of La Luz del Mundo in 2016. Anyway, Jesus goes on to say, he's just pointing to this sort of quote. The researcher points that in this case, the arrest of Apostle Nathan, there is a media situation where the use and abuse of the media was allowed there for there to be no investigation or seriousness in the cases that are reported. They speak in those, and they speak in those who are criminally investigated. This is still March 2022. We have not gotten to the fact-finding mission checkpoint of the court, of the judgment of a trial. We haven't gotten to that point. Nason is paying Alan Jackson and company and all these other people who are non-believers of the church, who are gentiles. Nason at this point is paying these people constantly to peddle a lot of motions, to delay, to distract, to set hurdles to the case of the prosecutors. Jesus Lopez Tapia is not explaining this to you, and he's just gonna talk about there's Catholic puppet masters and they're pulling strings. I'm going to translate it back to English. I've been jumping back and forth, but I'm going to translate back to English. And even though, again, it is sloppy, it is translated sloppily. This isn't the fault of them necessarily. Quote, how did this man come to be arrested? And who promotes this arrest? The university teacher asks. And they point out the Catholic clergy. And who makes this arrest? Prosecutor Javier Becerra, with a profile of covering up pedophile Catholic priests in California, and is an honorary member of Opus Dei. We have gotten no explanation of what Opus Dei is. I don't know what it is. I could look it up very quickly and easily, but that is not the priority here. The priority here is that this person in March 2022 is saying that is pointing out that 2 years earlier, no, almost 3 years earlier, that Javier Becerra, the Attorney General of the state of California in the United States, that this person is Catholic, that this person is an honorary member of Opus Dei. I don't know what the fuck that means. They're not a member of Opus Dei, but they're honorary. What does honorary mean? Someone could be an honorary member of the Ku Klux Klan. Someone, the KKK can make me an honorary member of them, and that doesn't necessarily imply a voluntary effort on my part. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what this means. I don't know what Jesus Lopez Tapia is talking about here necessarily. I do know what he's talking about, but there's questions left unsaid, and this person is not writing as clearly, as thoroughly as they possibly can. Jesus Lopez Tapia is pointing to this researcher. He's not saying that this person is a member of the church. This person's just a university teacher. This person's just an academic or whatever. And then he's pointing to that person and saying like, oh, that person says that there's a Catholic conspiracy, and Javier Becerra is at the top of it, pulling the strings, etc. And let me say before it escapes my mind, Javier Becerra in March 2022, when this article is being written and published, just published, Javier Becerra is not the Attorney General at this motherfucking point. He is not. He left the office a year prior when Joe Biden goes into office into the office of the presidency, and I believe in March 2021, Javier Becerra leaves his job as the Attorney General of the state of California. He leaves that job, and then he is subsequently nominated and then confirmed into the appointment of Secretary of Health and Human Services for the Joe Biden administration. Don't quote me on that exact office. You can look this up for yourself, but it is not too much off the mark. Javier Becerra, when this article comes out, is not the Attorney General of the state of California, because the person who comes into that office is someone with the last name of B. I can't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, I'm camera shy here, but Rob Bonta, since March 2021, is the Attorney General of California. He takes over after Javier Becerra. Rob Bonta, I don't know if he's Catholic or not. This dude is from the Philippines, grew up in the US, etc. Comes into office right here, but I don't know if this dude's Catholic or not. This person is not writing as clearly and is not thinking as thoroughly as they should be. He talks about Ana Victoria Ochoa Borges. Again, pardon me for mispronouncing this. And then Jesus Lopez Tapia goes on to point, yeah, there's a Catholic whatever, there's this Catholic conspiracy. How did this man come to be arrested? And then quotes Ana Victoria saying, oh, he's someone who covers up pedophile Catholic priests in California and is an honorary member of Opus Dei. We don't know what Opus Dei means. We don't know what it means to be an honorary member of it. And this thing about covering up the pedophile Catholic priest, that's not true. That's not true. The hotline through which the victims of La Luz del Mundo came forward and contacted the prosecutors of California, the authorities of California, was a hotline set up for not La Luz del Mundo members narrowly. It was a hotline set up for people that reported the Catholic Church. In fact, like I went to, I'm not going to look up the website right now, but I went to the website like a week or two ago that was set up and it had listed pages and pages of cases that it was bringing up against people that were part of the Catholic Church. It's not a conspiracy, man. It's just it's silly. Jesus Lopez Tapia then pivots to, from Ana Victoria Ochoa Borges, who I'm not sure if this person is part of the church or not. I've heard that they kind of are, but here this person isn't saying that they are, and they're a gentil, maybe. And then, Jesus Lopez Tapia then pivots to Massimo Introvigne, our good friend. Massimo Introvigne is a philosopher, a founder and director of the Center for Study of New Religions, CESNUR, CESNUR. Massimo affirms that La Luz del Mundo is the fastest growing church in the world. Okay, why can't the apostle affirm it? And then, of course, people would want charts and data and statistics and a bar graph and all that crap. But never mind. Jesus Lopez Tapia now wants to pivot to Massimo Introvigne, saying that he says it's the fastest growing church, but Jesus Lopez Tapia is not going to tell you that. In Massimo Introvigne's article, he was saying like, scholars can just give their best guess, or like, it's just a matter of situation. It's just a matter of who's observing the situation, or like, just any group can make a claim that they're the fastest growing church in the world. Islam can do it. The Mormons can do it. Come on, man. Let's be better. Let's just be better here. CESNUR is a research center for religious pluralism and religious minorities. It's based in Turin. It was founded in 1998. This forceful statement, it's just a forceful statement, baby. It's just a forceful statement. This forceful statement, which comes from an Italian sociologist who has dedicated his life studying the history of new religious movements and their fundamentalism. This did not please the Vatican. And so they put together a strategy to stop the growth of the light of the world, with René de la Torre and Mexican priest Tomás de Híjar Ornelas, both from Guadalajara, where the international headquarters of the church is located. Again, this is just Catholic conspiracy. This is dribble. This is rigmarole. This is bullshit. This person is just throwing bullshit at the wall. 4,000 people read it. 4,000 different people are going to come away with different takeaways. Some amount of those people are going to read this and feel, I don't know, like vindicated, or just make this feel like this is part of their worldview. This is lazy writing. This is trash here. This is just trash on the internet that I found about La Luz del Mundo. Right now, written by a La Luz del Mundo member, writing in a number of directions, explaining the current situation of his organization, and then also referencing and relying upon the words of a person who is not part of the organization, who, for all intents and purposes, and from the worldview of the average member of La Luz del Mundo, Massimo Introvigne is going to hell. And then also just look up Massimo Introvigne. You can find content on this guy defending, this group in Korea, defending the Jehovah's Witnesses, defending and siding with anybody who is not part of the Catholic Church. It seems that person is sort of hell bent on combating the growth or the hegemony, the popularity of the Catholic Church. These strategies, very vague. They consisted of discrediting Catholic media, fabricating evidence of corruption against minors. They're trying to keep him in jail for a long time. They're trying to deter his followers. Javier Becerra has roots in Guadalajara. The Becerra family in Guadalajara has been linked to the Vatican since 1926. Javier Becerra's grandparents, Claudio, one of them, participated in the Cristero revolt. Jesus Lopez Tapia here is talking about bullshit that happened a century ago. Not necessarily talking about the Becerras, very concrete and very clearly talking about who was in Guadalajara back then, and like how does this loyalty to the Catholic Church spread for generations in the Becerra family, etc. He's just kind of just talking. This is just rigmarole. This is just him shooting the shit. This is just him. This is dribble. This is not worth anything. What is this? This is worth something to La Luz del Mundo members, but it is actually not worth anything. And I'm hoping to convince you of that. The Becerra family from Guadalajara, Pope Pius IX blessed the cry of "Long live Christ the King," murdered thousands of Mexicans who did not believe in the Catholic religion. He's just talking. He's like just giving it. I don't know. He's just talking. The government fought the Cristeros with a heavy hand. Okay. In Sahuello, they murdered 27 Cristeros. 27. This is stuff from a century ago. I don't really know how it is tied here. They spared the life of Claudio Becerra. Okay, this is a little more concrete because he was very young. With great sadness, later on, he went onto the tomb of his martyred companions. Claudio Becerra drank a lot, and then the priest reproached him. He said, "I get drunk, Father, because I feel that God did not want me to be a martyr." Okay, he cites something. What is this? He cites something. And there's like no bibliography here. There's no longer citation of who is Lopez Beltran. I don't know what this is. What book by this person? Next segment. In the case of the Light of the World, the Vatican strategy failed miserably because, as Introvigne confirms, the arrest of the Apostle of Jesus Christ, far from decreasing the membership, has increased it. By how much? The quote ends right here. By how much did it increase? It is March 2022. If the church had come out with a PowerPoint, a graph, a this or that or whatever, some sort of trajectory of numbers or anything of different, they would promulgate that all out in the world, and Jesus Lopez Tapia would know it at this point, and he would put it in his article, but he doesn't. He's just referring to the gentil and saying like, oh, the gentil eyeballed it. That's my word. The gentil eyeballed it. And he says, there's more people. Next May 9th, will be the Apostle Nason's hearings, where the judge will have to decide whether to release him due to a lack of evidence or to join the plot and keep him in prison. I guess. The attorneys for Nason, millions of dollars. Alan Jackson, just millions of dollars to this guy. They're never talking about Catholic conspiracy. I would say you could probably bet money that you could try to control find the word Catholic in any of the documents that came out of the years of pre-trial that Nason was in, and you could not find the word Catholic. I don't want to say that for a fact, but I've read so many of these things. You cannot, no, they're never talking about this stuff. But Jesus Lopez Tapia is going to put it out on the internet, talk about this and that and this, and have these little pictures here, and make that be some sort of air of argument in evidence of the fact that there's Catholic conspiracy. So, again, this is March 2022. No one is convicted yet. Everyone is presumed guilty until everyone is presumed, and especially in Asen, is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But Jesus Lopez Tapia, and whatever, to whatever capabilities that this person can make a case for anything at this point, they're making a case for nothing at this point with everything that they knew. And so blah blah blah. And so he points to what's going to happen in the near future, and in like a month and a half. And then he just posts some pictures here from left to right. University teacher Ana Victoria Ochoa Borges. Okay. It's just a picture of her. Catholic prosecutor Javier Becerra and the priest Thomas de Aijar Ornelas. Okay. This dude is not the prosecutor in California at this point. This dude is on the other side of the continent, in Maryland, in Virginia. He's in DC. This dude is on the other side of the continent trying to get a new job as Secretary of Health and Human Services. He retired from this position of prosecutor a year prior to the publication of this article. Right? I don't, just who is this for? Who is this for? It's for someone, obviously, but I rhetorically ask, who is this actually for? This looks really dumb and lame and anemic in hindsight, from our point of view, obviously, but even at this point, but even at the point that it was published, I'm pretty sure that I really would have said the same stuff that I have said. Let's move on. Again, this is just an article that got like 4,000 or something views, more than some YouTube videos. I've certainly been like at least 10 of these views here, but so be it. The next article that I want to move on to is, again, a very small article published in Juneau Empire. Juneau is a city in Alaska. Oops. Here it says the voice of Alaska's capital since 1912. The Juneau Empire is basically a publication in Alaska. The church, La Luz del Mundo, is trying to spread in Alaska as it has been trying to spread in so many others, dozens of other states in the United States, and then dozens of other countries as it has tried. Again, I don't necessarily mean to pick on this person or any other person, but I just want to, and there has been a selection process to me gathering several tabs and then leaving them open because I have comments on these things. Of course, I could comment on every tab I've opened, but these are a number that I have just gathered and just want to put a collated argument about. Joab Cano, I don't know this person. This is a member of La Luz del Mundo, as we'll see. They post a picture in Juneau Empire in April 7th, 2022. This is 2 months before Nason, roughly 2 months before Nason takes a guilty plea, before he pleads guilty, before he is sentenced. And this person, Joab Cano, takes the opportunity to, I actually presume this person is a minister, if I remember this correctly, and if they divulge this, but I would right now reckon, if my memory serves me right, this person is a missionary. Is some sort of promulgator of La Luz del Mundo doctrine. They're writing in their local newspaper. We'll see what they have to say. Give me a second. Thank you. I don't know how many views this got. I don't know how important this is. This is something you can find. But it's out there for a purpose. Someone wrote this. Joab Cano wrote this. We'll see what it has to say. Joab Cano writes, the title of this, Living and Growing, 96 Years of Restoration. The heading is, quote, it's quite evident for all to see that this faith is not slowing down. This faith ain't slowing down. Joab Cano writes, the Light of the World members around the globe celebrated 96 years of the restoration of the church in April 2022. It's been nearly a century since this faith began working once again on its mission. The official website, tlotw.org, thelightoftheworld.org, states that the mission of the church is to, quote, share the message of spiritual salvation with all humankind without discrimination or exclusion based on religion, race, color, language, gender, age, health, or ethnicity. Okay. The work of announcing the gospel of Christ has reached many people today, and congregations of this faith are found in every state of the nation, every state of the United States, every state in Mexico, and 60 countries worldwide. If me and Joab Gano were in the same room, I would not dispute this with him. I would have a lot to say about how this number is inflated, of course, as Massimo Introvigne talked about in a previous article that we saw, but I would not debate this, obviously, with him. I'm sure the church is in every state in Mexico, every state in the US, and it's in 60 countries worldwide. But like, this isn't as impressive as it sounds if you know what you're talking about. But okay, let's move on. Popcorn goes on to write. To begin the restoration of the church, it goes to 1926. God called the guy. God named this guy Aaron. He says to restore the original Church of God. This calling is similar to the calling of the Apostle Paul, like 2,000 years ago. Eusebio became Aaron. During the course of this first century of restoration, La Luz TLOTW, La Luz del Mundo has grown very quickly in membership. I mean, okay. This has been the result of work and dedication of the three apostles who have been the spiritual leaders of this faith. Okay. Joab Cano will refer to Massimo Introvigne. Massimo Introvigne, an Italian sociologist of religion and founder of the Center for Studies of New Religions, he said, "La Luz del Mundo." He said about La Luz del Mundo back in 2018. It is the world's fastest growing religious movement. Although many scholars in 2019 were announcing that La Luz del Mundo would suffer a decline, Introvigne did not join in these predictions. Several years have passed since these claims, and this faith continues to show an impressive growth worldwide. Introvigne wrote in his article in the journal of CESNUR, that's the journal that I showed earlier, that I have read already, and that will likely, will be the topic of the next video. I hope that it is useful to everybody. But, here, Joab Cano is citing the journal article that, I will talk about soon. He cites the journal article. He says Introvigne's part. He says the light of the world is one of the fastest growing religious movements in the world. Okay. Any pizza joint on the motherfucking block can just say that they're world famous. I could just open a pizza restaurant down the street and say, "This is AJ's world famous pizza pie." This is rigmarole. This is gibberish. This is trash. This is dribble. This is not useful to anyone who really knows what's going on, especially members in the church. And, and they know what's going on. Joab Cano knows what's going on. But in communicating and articulating this to the wider world and trying to rebut anything that I've said on this platform or any other platform for the past 5 years, what's going, this is empty. This is empty writing. This is just puff piece, and this isn't even puff piece. This is just puff for this guy's own group. And so Joab Cano goes on to write, so how did La Luz del Mundo celebrate the 96th anniversary? During these past weeks, congregations all around the world, there were a bunch of baptisms in water. It occurred in many places. The baptism is the beginning of the Christian life for a follower of Christ. The baptisms were in the US, they were in Mexico, Central and South America, other parts of the world. The La Luz del Mundo has had youth studies for several weekends now, where it's evident that the youth participation is not absent in the faith. Baby boy, they're fucking children. Are they just supposed to, are the young people under 10, under 13, under 18 just supposed to massively tell their parents that they're just not going to go to the church. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You've given no numbers, and you're just saying that, like, oh, I've seen pictures of the youth studies and they seem populated. That doesn't mean anything. In fact, it's kind of tragic that those people are still there, given the charges that were being leveled at your dude, at the leader of the organization, and that he would come to mostly full fruition with 2 months later. Oh, there's youth studies, and it's evident that youth participation is not absent in the church. Baby, those are not adults. Those are not sovereign, undependent, independent and non-dependent people. Who are you talking to? While many other organizations are suffering a sharp decline of young believers and struggling to keep interest in them, La Luz del Mundo demonstrates that this faith is embraced by the younger generations as well. Congregations around the world are expanding with new houses of prayer, building new and bigger buildings that can accommodate the believers. In conclusion, it's quite evident to all to see that the faith is not slowing down. No, it is not evident. It is not evident. You've given no numbers. You cited a gentil. You talked about children and saying, like, oh, these people who just very obviously can't voluntarily completely divest from the church because they're not adults and they have adults dictating their decisions. Who are you talking to? Well, what does this mean? Many people are turning to its doorsteps to find something truly special, something that they have searched for a while. There's no better way to celebrate the 96th anniversary than to provide hopes for millions. Therefore, I would like to extend an invitation to people to visit our Light of the World Church. It's on 1997 Dunn Street in Juneau, Alaska, blah, blah, blah. We meet at this time. We meet at this time. We meet at 5 p.m. Hold on. We are Monday, Saturday. Do they not have a 5 a.m. church? Because if they did, that would be weird. But I don't know. He's just not announcing it here. It could be read as weird to the people who are not part of this church. May the peace of God dwell in your hearts. Bless you all. Bless you, Huapcan. Bless you. Again, not to pick on this, we don't know how many page views this exactly has, but this is one way that you can find La Luz del Mundo on the internet. This is pro content for it, and it is empty. And at no point did this dude cite any numbers. And to be quite honest, if he laid out the numbers before himself and the people that he is citing, the numbers aren't clear. I don't know what this dude just says, that there were baptisms here, there were baptisms there, and therefore it's it was the fastest growing religion. It continues to be. No mention of the criminal case, and to be quite honest, he doesn't bring it up in the stupid manner in which Massimo Introvigne did, and then does provide a comment about it. But Huapcano at least avoided that pitfall here. This is another piece that I found from mid-August 2023. It is by our friend Jesus Lopez Tapia again. It is on the website laopiniondehouston.com, The Opinion of Houston. It's a website. I translated it into English using Google Translate here automatically just to make it for smoother reading. And as we can see in the title here, the title reads, Historic Baptisms in the Light of the World, More Than 3,001 Day in Guadalajara. Before getting in, should we get into this? Okay, let's just get into this very quickly. This page has 352 views, and I must be I don't know, I guess 10 of them or something, or 5, who knows how many. Jesus Lopez Tapia writes, and this is just something he just kind of just put on the internet. This isn't the opinion page of the New York Times that is obviously solicited, written, edited, revised. There's a back and forth. There's many multiple checkpoints before it gets published. This is La Opinión de Houston. This is not, I don't really know what this website is. I just bring this up as a sort of artifact of La Luz del Mundo's presence on the internet and how it is viewed and framed and presented in a certain way, but it is not dissected in the way that we will do it right now. Jesus Lopez Tapia writes, this is August 2023. This is well over a year since since Nason has been convicted, etc. Jesus Lopez Tapia writes, those who predicted the end of this religious cult were wrong. On Sunday, more than 3,000 people were baptized at the La Luz del Mundo church in the Petel neighborhood of this city. From all corners of Mexico, mostly young people, men and women, descended into the waters of baptism in the enormous fonts. 80 deacons invoked the authorization from Nason, Joaquin Garcia. They baptized the people in the name of Jesus Christ. Their sins were forgiven according to the ceremony. The Lord Jesus Christ will baptize you in his Holy Spirit and fire. Choirs sang songs about faith and being touched in their hearts. This event took place one day before the Holy Supper, the largest religious ceremony that takes place in the church. I bring this up because this is a subsequent piece from Jesus Lopez Tapia. He's not citing Massimo Introvigne and like this is the world's fastest growing religion, blah blah blah, etc. But I point this out because if you have seen this, you have likely seen this many times over on like the La Luz del Mundo Facebook pages, the Instagram page, the Twitter post, the social media post here, the video, the video here, the video there. This is all hype. And La Luz del Mundo is counting to a certain extent. They will count on a given day and say like 3,000 people took part in this thing, in this ceremony. And like, is it at this point that they become members? Maybe. And say that they are. Well, like, can you add this one and previous baptisms and other checkpoints that are apparently happening around the world and that require authorization and oversight from Nason? I mean, Nason must be motherfucking counting, right? If anyone's fucking counting, it's that dude. And that dude, as far as we know, is not giving us any numbers. La Luz del Mundo will give you the numbers of how many countries it is present in, of how many states in the US and Mexico that it is present in. And I'm going to say that I'm not going to dispute those. Those can be artificially inflated. Those numbers are easier to artificially inflate, not in a bad connotation, but in a neutral connotation. To artificially inflate, you can artificially inflate those numbers as much as this organization can, but it is not able to inflate the numbers of like its overall church membership. Massimo Introvigne in 2018 is saying that there's 7 million members. In 2019, when Nason is arrested, Sara Postos is saying that there's over 5 million. Silem Garcia is saying that there's around like 5 million members in the world of La Luz del Mundo in the summer of 2019. And like, again, it's been 5 years since that. And we get headlines like this. This is from 2 years ago. But this is from less than 1 year ago. But like, in the interim since those 5 years, when are we going to hear that there are 6 million members? 7, 8? Holy shit, 15? Who knows? Is there an exponential growth to this church? Can you say that there's an exponential growth? Or can you say that it is actually that the supposed growth that this church is going through is by natural growth of like, forcing people to marry within one another and then their children, by default being part of the church, just like Jesus Lopez Tapia, not to necessarily pick on this dude, but according to this article, the previous article, and the context of the 3 other articles that I've shown, who's counting? What do numbers mean to anybody at this motherfucking point, right? Okay, so that is all I have for you today. I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this is useful. I hope that I did not repeat myself too much. again, let me tell you, like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think it would be useful to, engage with this in whatever way that you can. Let me know if you happen to have any rare sources or magazines or ephemera or photographs, or want to point me to a database, an old newspaper that's from Guadalajara or anything, like, but please put these things on my radar, reach out to me. I would really appreciate them. I want to engage with you. And very kindly, this video goes out to all the members of La Luz del Mundo in order to stir their suspicions, engage with their suspicions, trust your suspicions. Because if the church can lie to you about numbers, if it can be vague to you about numbers, if it can be sloppy with its numbers, then like what else can be sloppy, vague, obscure, misleading, etc. about? If you're just going to take them at their word about numbers, then maybe you might take them at their word at just anything else. But actually, I don't think you should just be taking them at their word on any matter. Pardon me while I get my notes very quickly. Again, like this air of academic legitimacy that the church seeks, that the church higher ups seek, that Nicolas Menchaca, that Big Valle Estrada seek. Number one and two, those two dudes aren't writing, to my knowledge, anything moving or just anything interesting or forceful in the way that Massimo is online. If you happen to have any content from those guys, or if those people are listening to me, send it my way. I would like to read it. I would like to see that data, those arguments. This sort of era of academic legitimacy that the church seeks, of like legitimacy and interest that it seeks from academics and learned people and professors and whatever else, that is all a fortification that it builds between itself and the member and the everyday member, to keep the everyday member from truly recognizing that the higher ups in the organization, the Council of Bishops, Sara Pozos, Silem Garcia, Eliezer Gutierrez, Jack Freeman, whatever other higher up in this organization, that those people actually don't serve the interests of the common member. Mind you, anything that the common member basically believes about this church is it's not right. It's exploitation of their faith, and it is just sort of religious spam that La Luz del Mundo puts out there. But this video, and I hope that the facades that I've tried to eat away at right here, I hope that this is for the purposes of helping people recognize that there is to not be bewildered, to not be gullible to just anything that this organization says to you, because it is most likely not true, and quite actually the opposite. Trust your suspicions, and you, member of La Luz del Mundo, and myself, as I have for many, many years, we're all on the same page in that we should, I'm hoping to convince you that you should demand more from the institution. You should demand the exact number of the members that there are right now, the number of members that there were in 2020. In 2022, every 5 years, every 10 years, should you get an update on how much the church has grown. The 100th anniversary of the church is within 18 months or so, is within like a little more than a year, is within 2 years. And yet, at what number of members is the church going to be at that point? Because Jesus Lopez Tapia and this minister and this other person at the pulpit and this other person at the pulpit, this other bullshit person on YouTube is going to tell you that like there were 2,000 baptisms here, 200 over here, 50 in this little small place, 25 over here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to cite numbers. They're going to say, oh, we reached 65 countries that we're present in. They haven't said that yet. We've reached 70 countries that were present. They're going to cite all these numbers, and they're just going to pepper you with statistics, but it doesn't actually amount to anything, is one of the points that I'm trying to point out here. And it is one of the common thread points that I have been engaging with for like several years. Recognize that the church has a certain presence online this is another chapter of it that I'm trying to chronicle here, and it should show you that so much of it is unimpressive, that so much of it is just trying to launder hype. It is just trying to launder hype and legitimization. There is a faked legitimization here, but I hope that I've shown you it doesn't actually amount to anything. The members, Nicolas Menchaca, Big Valle Estrada will I guess talk to Massimo Introvigne and give him the access to and facilitate the access to Nason, but the grand majority of members in the church don't have a picture of them and themselves and Nason in the same frame. Think about who gets to have access to Nason, for what reasons, and how stupidly they handle that. And then yet, the average member doesn't get to have that for themselves. La Luz del Mundo will cite Massimo Introvigne and Ana Victoria Ochoa Borges, or this person or that person, or Sara Pozo, or who are all these. They can cite all these people. It doesn't mean anything necessarily, because they haven't. If you read this stuff, honestly, or unbiasedly, you will see that I'm not even gonna say that I'm not unbiased. I have a clear bias, but if you're gonna read this thing, let's say honestly, if you're gonna meet me at a middle point, none of this is impressive. None of this points to the actual growth of the organization as it says that it has been. That is all I have for you today. In the future, I hope that I will dive into other content. Let me know, just reaffirm that with me, that you think that will be interesting and useful for you all. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. And I look forward to the next installment of this. If you happen to have any tabs you want me to open and keep open and comment on, or certain articles to dissect, send them my way. We will do it. And otherwise, take care. This has been AJ, and this is the comment, the money store. La Luz del Mundo continues to unravel, and peace. Thank you all.